of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, and they've also been embarking on their own decongestion exercise. Good morning to you, Richard Ofori Ajimanbwedi, aka King Zuba.
Good morning to you, my brother.
Zuba, how is Kumasi this morning?
We're good.
Yes.
Once we have people who bless, we are good.
We've seen videos of flooding in Accra, and I was alarmed when I saw a video of flooding in Kumasi as well, following yesterday's rains. The airport roundabout and some other areas in Kumasi were also flooded. Can you give us a sense of what happened yesterday with the flooding as well in Kumasi?
Okay, so the Ababu River that runs from Mochizongo to Decongestion to Ababu to hit inside in those areas got flooded as a result of excessive rain. The flooding, I'd say, occurred principally due to some human activity that has been taking place along that particular stretch. And we have put a team together from NADMO and officers of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. We were doing assessment the whole of yesterday to see how best from today we can tackle it.
That place has been flooding for years. What do you think is the best approach to solving that flooding challenge, considering the fact that now the Kumasi airport has been elevated into an international airport? Should we start getting passengers coming and a lot of traffic? Would this make it sustainable to run an airport in such a place?
Definitely. The flooding that took place, it happened behind yourself. So it did not, to a large extent, affect the main roundabout that leads to the airport or to the road to Bokum or to Ababo or to Decongestion. Some of those who were trying to access Decongestion through the area also road. So it is not something that, but that said, we need to do a lot of work in that area. Previously, during Zama's first term, we did some work on that particular stretch from, I think it was from our junction, the IM area through the Araga junction total, through to Aragasi 30, and then during the term of President Akufo-Addo, I think some work was done extended from Atos to market area, and it did help. I saw some work that was started around the HMC area but stalled, and I think we have to revisit it. We'll have to sit down with the Ministry of Works and Housing for them to get involved. We'll have to do an extensive consulting along that particular stretch and construct storm drains that can accommodate large volumes of water. And I believe once that is done, we'll be able to manage it.
Now, talking about bringing in the Ministry of Works and Housing, what is the problem that you cannot deal with at a metropolitan level that would require the Ministry of Works and Housing?
That's a new work, and the volume of work that has to be done there requires a bigger budget than the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly can accommodate.
Do you by chance know how much it would cost? A rough idea.
Once we have not done quantities, I will not be able to say it will cost X or Y. But the area we are talking about has a semblance of what we have at Odona. You understand? The size of the rain is as big as the one that we have from Alage to Odona to those areas. And this one goes to about 4 assemblies. It starts from somewhere around Takum, comes through KMA a bit. A chunk of it is in the Asokore Mampo Municipal Assembly, and then goes to Oferikom to Asokwa. So there are about 5 assemblies that are affected on that particular stretch. And the size of it and the volume of work that has to be done I'm not sure the one that was done at Adona was handled by the AMA. So the budget will be big, and would have to do a lot of technical assessment and get appropriate reports. And I believe one does this, and we can get the Ministry of Works and Housing to come and assess that.
I mean, talking about lots of assessment, technical reports, you had also indicated the works that have been done on it previously, some level of work. So that takes me to the point that in all these
And
levels...
before you go, let me say that none of those works was done by the Assembly's concern. All of those projects were done by central government.
Exactly. I mean, so once I was done, you'd have realized where I was going to. So, of the works that have been done so far, so that gives me the impression that you've done the feasibility studies, you've done what must be done to deal with this problem, right?
I will not be able to say yes or no to this one, because the one that was embarked upon was completed. The one that stretches from the Annuum area through the Junction total area, and the one that goes through the Melkor building on the Square New Road and crosses through society to get to Ahesa. All of those ones were done by the central government and they were completed. This one that I am talking about, that happened around Decongestion. I'm told at the time it was led by the Modern, headed in the region by Governor Entry. And so yesterday when I had those briefings, I told my normal officers that they should get behind it and get me the facts and then see how best they can handle it.
Mr. Mayor, we learned last night that areas like Airport Roundabout that don't traditionally tend to flooded last night. Now in Accra, we know that part of the problem that causes the flooding is because people build unlawfully on waterways, around retention ponds and wetlands. Do you have the same problem in Kumasi? Could that be accounting for some of these traditionally non-flooding areas flooding now?
So I'll say, if anybody tells you the airport roundabout area is traditionally a non-flooding area, that's not correct. I have lived in Kumasi all my life. In fact, my hometown is in Kumasi. So that's why, in fact, the slightest rain, that place floods. But a slight, you see, it's in a valley. You understand? So it's on a hill. Ababo is on a hill. And then it's Tepe is on a hill. So the volume of water that is collected around all these areas gets into that particular source. And when it gets to where Jofel is, normally when it rains and it's a bit heavy, you experience it. And there's a way to correct it. The engineers should be able to correct it, but they will come at the cost.
Let me ask, so do you have the problem of people building illegally on waterways and on retention ponds and in wetlands?
We're still doing an assessment. I've just been in office barely a month, and I always want to speak to facts, not hearsay. So I may have an idea of some situation, but officially I would have to be briefed with facts. And we have been doing, the whole of yesterday, we're touring the metropolis. We even went beyond our boundaries to see how best we can have an effective assessment so we can speak to proper data.
Okay, let's talk about decongestion. I know that you've on several occasions announced plans to decongest Kumasi. In fact, the last exercise that we can find on record was back in April, and I remember you said, and I quote, "I have a different strategy for decongestion. I don't believe in bringing military men here. Everybody wants to sell in Edum. It is the reason they are there. We will find some ingenious ways to keep them in Edum and decongest it." So what ingenious ways have you found to do this?
Okay. So I am of the belief that the previous decongestions that we have embarked on was not sustainable because of the approaches. Now, if we were to deploy about 300 police officers in a room and get everybody off, it will come at a cost to the assembly. Beyond 3 months, when the finances assembly no longer can accommodate keeping the 300 police and military on the road, you would have to send them back, and then they will come back. So I thought of having a much more sustainable approach. So luckily for me, when I took over, there were about 6 military liaison officers who were helping us by leading our urban guard to manage security within the metropolis. So we put them together with a team of about 2 national security operatives and some city guards, and we are patrolling the areas that we have asked the people to leave, just so we can have free flow of traffic in those central business districts. Those are some of the various ways that we tend to do this decongestion without it biting too much on people who do informal trading activity within the Kumasi metropolis. And I think we're getting a good result.
Okay, Zuba, now let's talk about decongestion in the larger context, not just Edum, not just the roads, but decongesting the whole Kumasi, the greater Kumasi metropolitan area to make life easy.
Sure.
On flooding, for example, if you go to the Kumasi Girls area, all that area to where the Barakesi Dam is, you realize that a lot of people are building in the Owabi catchment area. They are building along the Owabi River. The Ofin River is also being encroached upon. If you go to Atonsu and all those areas, the Sisa River around KNUST2 is getting the same kind of treatment. What kind of help do you need to be able to decongest these areas? For example, if you are to clear the waterways, what kind of help do you need to do that to enable us to keep the flooding at bay?
Okay. So 2 things you put to the fore: decongestion beyond the dome, and then flooding along areas that principally do not fall within my jurisdiction, because they identify stretches within the Africa Municipal Assembly. The ones that you talked about earlier also.
I brought all of them up because they always have an impact on your assembly itself.
Yeah, but then when resources are assigned to GMA, you can't extend them beyond your boundaries. But the other ones have MCs who have been confirmed, save Asokwa, which is likely to happen on Wednesday. I'm confident that Asokwa will get a team. Last week, I had a meeting with all the directors in the greater Kumasi area, all the assemblies that surround KMA. We had a meeting on how we can effectively collaborate and manage sanitation.
Okay. So Zuba, let me rephrase the question to make it simpler. Do you have the machinery to decongest the city? Should you hit the street right now? For example, it's going to rain. By July, we know that 51% of the total Kumasi area is flood prone. So by July, it will be raining a lot. What machinery do you have at your disposal to do some immediate work whilst you wait for the central government to come to your aid?
Yeah, we have some great machinery, but unfortunately, they do not have excavators. And these work, to be able to effectively handle them, you need excavators. So we have gone to one gentleman in Kumasi who has agreed to lease one of his excavators to us. Previously, we were falling on machines from these excavators, but that created a lot of problems for me. So now we are trying to find some means within our budgetary constraints to get some others to augment the one that the gentleman is going to give to us today. And we'll try to do a lot of work today. But the fact of the matter is that the chunk of the work is outside of the KMA direction. The one that you talked about in the Barakes area is a different assembly. The one that affects Office Road or the Office River is a different assembly. But OIB is within KMA, and we have done an assessment of that place. Yesterday, we went there. Today, to the Nadmo team will go. If there are evidence that some structures are impeding the free flow of water and they were not supposed to build there, and they have to be taken off, we'll take them off.
Okay, now my final question for you, Zuba. What's the status of the PZ market that recently got destroyed by fire? Where are we with that?
Okay, so where we are with that is that This bit I find it difficult to talk about, but when the question comes up, I have no other choice. Politicians are disturbing us a lot, and I think that everybody should collaborate with the Kumasi Traditional Council and the Kumasi Municipal Assembly to handle it. As we speak, a technical assessment of the buildings that were affected indicated that 3 structures would have to be demolished. In fact, there were 4. One that belongs to a gentleman by the name of Justice. He has gone to demolish it on his own. So there are 3. There are 3 left. One belongs to PMA. The other belongs to an association, Watchers Association, and the third belongs to Nana Kofi, my former mayor of Kumasi, of blessed memory. Those structures would have to be demolished. Unfortunately, politicians are providing materials for victims who were in those buildings, and they are reconstructing it without proper technical guidance and advice. We have met them and asked them to stop, because whatever be the case, once technical report indicates that they have to be demolished, they will be demolished. On Wednesday, the Kumasi Municipal Assembly will have a meeting with the Kumasi Traditional Council, as has been directed by Otumpo, and then we'll discuss the various reports, and we'll set the date where those demolitions would have to take place, and then how reconstruction would also happen. So that's where we are. We are going to see the blessings of Nananum on Wednesday, and once the green light is given to us, we'll demolish the affected structures, and then we can begin the process to reconstruct.
Thank you very much, Richard Ofori Ajiman Bwedi, who's...
yes, you're welcome, my brother. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Yes, Kenzuba, they call him in Kumasi. Thank you very much for making time to join us this morning here on the Super Morning Show. So that's the situation in Kumasi.